Welcome to the Cannon Hall Farm podcast. With us, the Nicholson brothers farmers Rob and Dave.
We're two Yorkshire farmers who, along with our dad Roger, brother Rich and the rest of our family, have turned a farm with 2 sheds and a barn into an award-winning tourist attraction.
You've seen us on telly, live on Facebook, and now we've got our very own podcast.
On today's show, we're going to talk about the loss of our treasured stallion, Hercules. It's been a hammer blow to everyone, and we feel it's only right to talk to you about it while everything is raw and fresh in our memories.
Coming up.
You know, ultimately, our dream was for Hercules to come back here when the facilities were completed. Dare we finish that now? I think it's too early to say. It's too early to make that decision. We'll continue to rebuild and to replenish and to enjoy Yorkshire Rose and Sapphire and all the other girls, but it's going to leave a massive hole in our hearts. So, Dave, what have you been up to this week?
Well, I've been down to London. I've seen a few shows. I saw the Live Aid kind of musical, if you like, one day. And I've got to say, extremely moving. There was, at one point, it all went very quiet and there was loads of people sobbing in the audience. And then, obviously, you know, there was happy bits in between as well. So it was one to go and see.
Well, we've obviously had tears of our own this week on the farm with the loss of Hercules, but we have had a few silver linings. You know, we've had a new Shetland pony foal, and then we've had a baby donkey as well. So the baby donkey we've called Peaches because its mum was apricot, so we've called it Peaches. So that's been a little ray of sunshine in a really difficult week. So yeah, it's been a combination of coping and dealing with the loss of Hercules and welcoming these new arrivals onto the farm. So it's been mixed emotions.
Yeah, well, that's farming for you. You know, you've got the new arrivals, and I suppose, you know, there's always sad times as well as good times.
You don't mind ever celebrating a long life well lived, do you?
No.
But when it's a short life well lived, it doesn't feel right, and it hasn't felt right. But we are where we are, and we've got to deal with the cards that we're dealt.
And that's what we're going to be talking about today.
Now, we've had the most awful week, and we thought it only appropriate to take the time to talk about Hercules, to talk about his life and his untimely passing while it's still raw and it's still completely fresh in our memories. So we'll talk you through a little bit about the timeline of events and what it meant to us at the time, and then the impact that it's had on you guys, because we know that it's touched a lot of hearts, and we know from the messages of support and the messages that we've had sent to us that he made an impact on a lot of people. So here goes.
Well, he was a big, impressive animal. You know, he was the best Shire that we've ever had at Cannon Hall Farm. He had all the right. He had the right temperament. He stood like a champion. He was an absolute beauty.
Yeah, I would absolutely echo that. The timeline of events is this. I'm sat after having my tea on the settee. I can see the moment now. Phone call. Look at my phone. Harry, what's he want? You know, not that what's he want, because I'd love to hear from him. But I thought it's too late for him to tell me one of the mares has been served or is confirmed in fall. It's a funny time to be ringing. You know, sometimes you get a phone call, don't you? You think, what's wrong here? So I answered it. Rob, I'm really sorry. We've a problem with Hercules. He's colicking. I've rung the vet, and I'm worried. And you know, and as soon as the vet's been, I'll ring you and let you know. So straight away you're thinking, oh God, he doesn't ring like that for no reason. You know, he's very communicative, but he's not someone who would be ringing at 10 o'clock at night for no reason.
Yeah, and we know from past experiences, because a long, long time ago, just as we opened the farm, we had a fall off a Shire, and my cousin Richard Mount were training it. We were getting it going, and that looked a beauty as well. And it got colic, and within 24 hours, we'd lost that one. So we knew colic is massively serious. They can get over it with a bit of luck, but it is a serious thing.
I said to Julie, no point ringing anyone here, no point telling them. It's only going to worry people on a night. I thought we'll sit this one out ourselves. We waited for the phone to ring. An hour later, Harry's vet rang. This is, he didn't beat about the bush. This is really serious. That there's nothing happening in a big portion of his guts, his tummy. And what colic is a blockage. It's a blockage where the gut stops functioning, gas builds up, it puts the whole of the tummy under stress, under strain, and is potentially fatal, as we've sadly found out through bitter experience. So I was listening intently. He said, I think the horse's best chance is served by going to hospital. And I said, presumably Rainbow. He said, yeah, it's just down the road. They're the best in the business. I said, right, well, just get him there. Do you need me to come and take him? Harry said, no, I'll take him. I'll take him now. And I just said, do whatever you have to do to give him the best chance of survival. All that matters is that he makes it. So phone went down, off they went. We went to bed, but not for a very restful night. It was a long night. It was a worrying night, and I got the phone call from Rainbow about 3 o'clock in the morning. So and it was Gemma, wasn't it? Gemma, who we've dealt with before, who saved Rosie.
Yeah,
and she saved little Shetland.
oh yeah, the black and white one. Yeah,
What do you call
Pony
it?
M.
Pony M. Saved Pony M from a catastrophic situation. Probably worse than Hercules' situation at that point. So I knew they were in the best hands. Gemma rang. Look, Rob, it's not great news. There's nothing happening in a large portion of his gut. They'd scanned him. They'd done all kinds of tests. But they came to the conclusion that there was nothing to be gained by operating at that stage. They were going to flush fluids, and it's, the poor lad, he was obviously under all the best painkillers available, but they were putting a tube down his nose that eventually ended up into his tummy, through his large intestine, into his small intestine, and working away at clearing this blockage, because this blockage was the thing that was stopping him going to the toilet. It was causing this build-up of gas, this pressure on his intestines, and ultimately chronic discomfort, which is awful. But, they were able to treat the discomfort. They were able to make him more comfortable. But Gemma said, look, we'll try this mode of therapy overnight and see where we are tomorrow. I said, look, just whatever you've got to do it. I said, do you need to operate now? She says, if we operate now, he goes down. Sometimes they never get back up. The anaesthetic is so severe in such a big horse that there's a fair chance that they're never able to get back up after the operation. So that's sort of where we left it that night. So I think the next day, David, we were filming, weren't we, up in up in Durham?
Yeah, and we're really concerned. We told the crew all about it. If a phone call happens, we've got to take it. Because we might have some
just
serious...
clarify, we didn't tell the film crew all about it. We just said there's an important call comes in. We're going to have to break from filming.
Exactly.
Because we were very conscious that there were people like Ruth, like my dad, who didn't know what was happening, and we didn't think there was any point in stressing them at that point. So we tried to keep it tight, keep it contained, and make sure that all the decisions that we took would give Hercules the very best chance of survival and not stress other people who loved him.
Well, there's no point upsetting people if the end result, he comes round, they undo the blockage is freed, and it was just a real upset. It was just such a downer, wasn't it? Before we've rushed the animals to Rainbow. In this occasion, Harry did it, and to be honest with you, that cut the stress levels down a little bit. because when you're actually moving a big horse and the rest of it, it's that gets to you a lot more when you're actually there with him. But it was just such a wonderful animal. It was just a disaster, really.
To me, if I'd have been, I would have rather have been there outside waiting, being involved in it. I felt that being detached, waiting for a phone call, was worse than actually living that moment with him, because you're just wondering all the time what's happening, how's he doing, why they're not ringing me, should they be ringing me, is it good that they've not rung me, is it not good that they've, all this time you're second guessing, you're questioning. You should be concentrating on your filming. Very hard to concentrate on your filming when something like this is happening. So we go through that day, got the phone call, and every time Gemma rang, I could tell from the tone of her voice it was downbeat. There was nothing effusively positive coming back at us. She didn't want to say he's no chance, because he did have a chance, but I think she felt in her heart that it was a situation that was not going in the right direction. Phone call came in. He's worse. The gas has built up to such an extent that now his only chance of survival is to have an operation. And I said, look, they quote figures at you from a financial point of view, because that's what they're like. They want you to know what things are costing. They don't put pressure on you to do anything. But I just said, whatever you've got to do it, and give him the best chance of survival. We respect your decision, and just do your best for him. And that's what they did. He went into his operation, which took several hours, and they didn't ring me back straight away. But then the vet, Jonathan, who did the operation, rang and said, look, we've got him back up. He's back up. He's comfortable. It's gone as well as it could possibly have gone. The fact that he'd recovered and he was back, functioning again was great news. So we were heartened by that news. And now it was a waiting game. They cleared the blockage. They'd sewed him all back up. Would he be able to pass? Would he be able to keep anything down? Because the next problem then is reflux. The poor lad then started to be sick.
Yeah,
which is awful. Being sick's a horrible thing.
The fluid wasn't passing through the intestine, so he was bringing it back up. But they had to give him fluid to keep him alive. They had to put him on a drip. And it's just but actually, to a big horse like that to get up after the anaesthetic. A lot of big horses don't even get that far.
It showed his character.
Yeah, true determination, strong horse. And all the time you're thinking, well, we were feeling negative vibes, weren't we? From the tone of voice from the vets. They were trying their best. But ultimately, if that gut did not get function, if its motility did not improve and start to function as it should do soon, we knew that the clock was ticking for him, and we knew that he wasn't ultimately going to make it. So that was another period then of waiting, wondering, hoping, and what have you. So the following morning, Gemma rang me again. He'd passed a little bit of poo. It wasn't any worse. There was still hope, and I thought, well, that's positive. He was still being sick, but not as much. They were still looking for further improvement. But then fairly soon after that, he took a significant turn for the worse. And she said, look, I really think it's time to call time on this lad. It's not in his interest to, this is a fight that he can't win. And tragically, he had to be put to sleep that day. And that was a crushing blow. But I think it was also a crushing blow because I then knew that I got the job of telling everyone who really cared for him, and I'm worried then, why didn't you tell me earlier? But none of us had been to see him. None of us were able to see him. There was no point. He was in the best of hands. And they are a cracking team. There's a lot of hands there, Rob. A lot of people there that do an absolute fantastic job. I've seen it firsthand. They've done some great work for us, and they tried the very, very best. Credit to Rainbow. They are, they do care. And they really do try.
I think Gemma cares an awful lot.
She does,
because she rang me and said, look, I hate these big ones, big guys get me, where you know the horses do. I'm going to have a big glass of wine tonight. This is one that'll take some getting over. Yeah. And if she's thinking like that and she's dealing with them every day, then I just said, look, we can't thank you enough for the work you've done and for the way you've kept us informed and for the communication, and empathy towards us as well as Hercules.
And then, well, after he'd gone, I suppose, like you say, you had the job to tell everybody, and it's not a nice thing. There's a lot of emotions there. But on the only saving grace is that he had started serving mares. He was a cracking stallion, and we have got some of his sons or daughters to look forward to in the springtime. But that is the only saving grace. His legacy will live on through his foals.
So the next job then is talk to mum and dad, talk to Philip, talk to Ruth, talk to all the people that are more directly involved with him, and then gradually cascade the news back from there, to the point there where we announce it to the world, to you guys. Which, I said to Dale, I rang you, Dale, didn't I? I rang you. I said, look, Dale, this has happened. It's blooming awful. What do you think? And we cooked up a plan together about who knows when and what, and we did an announcement down in the field next to Sapphire, next to Yorkshire Rose, his mother and sister, and that was a tough thing to do, because I knew, when you know how disappointed you're going to make people feel when you're announcing something, you carry that with you a little bit, and I knew it would severely affect people, and it has done. We can tell that by the response. But like David said, we've got his falls to look forward to, hopefully. But that builds the pressure for next year, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, and like, if you think about him as well, Rob, he was booked to go to the Yorkshire Show. He wasn't just a working stallion. He was something to be proud of, something to show off. He was the real deal. He served mares really well. We took him to just by chance. We thought we took him to that AI centre, just to get a bit of semen off him, just in case people wanted it elsewhere in the country or even in different countries. Because the Shires are a dying out breed. They're literally they're on the brink of, if people don't breed them, we're going to lose them, and that's what we're trying to do, and that's why we took some semen off him, and we can use that now, for other mares for other years. But it still doesn't make you feel any better because he's not here.
That's sort of the potted history of the events of the last few days. But going back to the start of our journey with Hercules and Sapphire, we were looking, or Philip, I don't know, he's always on the hunt. He's always looking online. He's always talking to people. He's always looking for that next big deal for the farm. He managed to come across Sapphire, and he said, "What do you think? I found this mare." And I'm thinking, "Oh crikey, we've got a lot of Shire horses already. Do we really need another?" Anyway, so it's a real good one. I really believe in it. It's got a lovely foal. And I said, "Yeah, go on then, let's have it." And he went to fetch it, and went with Katie. Did a video of it coming back, and the moment I saw Sapphire, I just thought, wow, that's a mare of a slightly higher level than what we've got. She is our best mare. I do believe that, and the foal looked good and correct and straight and true, and I thought, well, it's a really nice foal. Didn't at that stage think, oh, here's our future stallion, because there's so many things that can change about them, so many faults they can get, and they can go in a direction that's not what you want. But as time evolved, I thought he's pretty smart. Him, nice colour.
Yeah,
he's
lovely colour.
Nice mover, move well.
Yeah,
and I just thought, it'd be worth hanging on to. Maybe just try and keep him, because we generally sell foals, don't we, at the back end at weaning time. Wouldn't mind keeping him, just see what he turns into. He's a colt. You don't get many good greys. And we kept him, didn't we?
Yeah. And because we're not really really got the facilities to keep a stallion.
Well, we kept him for that year.
Yeah.
We kept him for the next year.
But he was starting to get a bit more stallionish, wasn't he? He was making a bit of noise and everything. So we thought, right, Harry's the man. He's good at training him. He's a proper horseman. So he went on his holidays over there.
Well, it became clear, and it is clear that our farm, being a visitor farm with staff of varying levels of horse expertise, if you've got a young colt kicking about who's beginning to find his feet, and that brings with it an element of danger that some of our people are not equipped to deal with. So, like David said, we figured that the best place for him was at a professional yard, so that it gave us the chance to carry on our dream of turning Hercules into a stallion, into a working stallion, but also ensured safety and the correct upbringing for him. Because there's a responsibility in leaving a colt entire, and that responsibility is that he's well behaved, he's well mannered, he's able to be controlled in public spaces. We took him to Penistone Show, didn't we?
Yeah, did ever so well. Did ever so well.
And he won. And we thought at that stage, flipping heck, we've a red rosette for a Shire horse at a show. It's not what happens to people like us.
No, and he was a late fall as well. So he was just coming into his own a little bit later than the other falls. So it just showed you that he was a touch of class.
And at that point, I thought we've got to keep him.
Yeah.
The various people for lots of reasons were saying we can't keep a stallion at our farm, and they're right. With the facilities that we had and the level of expertise was mixed in the team. We're on a journey now to improvement and to betterment and to improving the facilities and making sure that maybe that could happen in the future. I'm not saying it will. This is all now up in the air. The whole shooting matches is it's a pack of cards that's been thrown up, and they're all going to land where they land, and we've got to make decisions around that.
But to replace a grey stallion, Rob, they don't come around very often. They really don't. We've been trying for a long time to breed greys, and we've got some lovely foals. And Yorkshire Rose, his full sister, will be keeping her, and who knows, one day she might have a grey stallion.
I think the saddest thing for me of the whole thing was that it only ever happened by chance. We never set out to, here's our stallion of the future. We just happened to buy a mare and foal. The foal happened to be pretty smart. He happened to be a good mover. He happened to win his first show. He happened to turn heads whenever anyone looked at him. And we thought, flipping heck, he's too good to sell this. And then you find a way to overcome that obstacle by taking him to Harry's. You find a way to take him to get semen collected so that it gives you that chance of safeguarding his future. Never in a million years did we think this were going to happen to Hercules at the time. This was a bolt from the blue. There are so many people to thank for his life. Philip for finding him, Philip and Katie for fetching him back, for Ruth and the rest of the team for looking after him, even when he was, a little bit disobedient when he was younger. Harry for taking him on and turning him into the champion that he became. So yeah, it's been an absolute roller coaster ride, and the roller coaster's crashed at the end, and it's absolutely heartbreaking.
Absolutely, Rob. This one has been a real tough one. We've lost a lot of animals in the past, at lambing time, or even the odd, cows get mastitis and they get other things. You can have all sorts of issues with all sorts of animals, but it just hurts a lot more with a big Shire horse. It really does, for me anyway.
I think when you've been around animals as long as David and I have, and a dog owner and all the things that come with it, you're going to face periods like this where something special passes away, and you've got to learn that resilience and the fact that something else. Dad always said, you've got to dust yourself down because the rest of them need looking after, and it's no good feeling sorry for yourself. You've got to do it. But we've been here before with Shire horses, Poppy and Chester. They were a crushing blow. I never thought we'd be able to top that. But this is of the same scale. To lose an animal like Hercules, who we were looking forward to such a bright future with. You know, the Yorkshire Show was his next thing. We're going to take him to Westmoreland. We'd have taken him back to Penistone. We were looking forward to a summer of success and enjoyable days, and just seeing him out there with the sun on his coat, it made you think, crikey, we've got something really special here. A farm like ours, you know, doesn't normally have animals like that. You know, when we were growing up, we had, you know, a few cows and a few sheep, and there were none of them pedigree. We've got some superstars now, but he was the king of the castle, and he's going to take some replacing.
The future for me is still grey. You know, we've got his semen to use for future years, and hopefully we will breed that grey champion again. You know, we might have one with Yorkshire Rose, you know, but it'd be nice to see his legacy live on in his foals for future years. That's how I'm dealing with it.
But what do we do about a stallion? You know, what does our future as a Shire Horse breeding centre, approved Shire Horse breeding centre, look like? Really, we should have a stallion.
Yeah.
You know, if we're looking at having 6 breeding mares a year, then a stallion is not a daft thing to have. Where can we find one like Hercules? Well, not easily and not readily. Are we ready to have another go? Are we ready? Are our facilities ready yet? We're on a process of increasing the number of paddocks, of increasing all-weather paddocks, of improving the stables. All those things are happening as we speak. Dare we get a stallion that lives here? You know, ultimately our dream was for Hercules to come back here when the facilities were completed. Dare we finish that now? I think it's too early to say. It's too early to make that decision. We'll continue to rebuild and to replenish and to enjoy Yorkshire Rose and Sapphire and all the other girls, but it's going to leave a massive hole in our hearts and in the Cannon Hall farm.
Well, yeah, in everybody's, Rob. He was a favourite. I know he's a favourite of a lot of people's because they've already been to the farm. They've told me, you know, and I suppose disasters have to get. You know, they're always there, but we're going to have to dust ourselves down and look to the future and hopefully get them foals born happy and healthy next year, and then let's move on. But again, if another stallion comes along, then at the right time, we just want one as good as him. He had the best temperament. He was a kind, good, you know, he was a good horse. He was a world beater for me. So, yeah, he's going to be missed.
So to conclude, we're absolutely heartbroken. I'd like to thank everyone for reaching out and the messages that you've sent to check that we're okay. And whilst we're badly beaten, we're not down, and we will keep fighting on. So thank you for having our backs. Thank you for following Hercules' journey. Thank you for following our Shire Horse journey at Cannon Hall Farm. We're excited to see what the future holds. We're licking our wounds at the loss of Hercules, and we can't thank you enough for your support at this really difficult time.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Cannon Hall Farm podcast.
If you've liked this episode, don't forget to subscribe on YouTube and leave a rating on your podcast provider.
We'll be back next time. Until then, I've been Farmer Rob.
I've been Farmer Dave. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.